Nicola, welcome very much to Cranfield. Now, your job title with BT is Customer Experience Futurologist, and I'm sure I won't be the first to ask you what exactly a futurologist is.
Oddly, I knew you were going to be asking me that question because I always say everyone expects me to have a crystal ball. I do actually have a crystal ball, but it doesn't work, unfortunately. So I do have to work slightly harder for my living than staring at crystal balls or reading tea leaves, indeed. I probably have one of the most fun jobs in BT because my role is to take a lot of the innovation that's going on within our own research organisation, but we also have what we like to call our innovation ecosystem of technology trackers around the world, universities around the world, lots of clever people doing all sorts of things around the future. My job is to look at a lot of that stuff. And I actually met a futurologist the other day who called himself a trend DJ. And actually, aside from being immensely jealous about that job title, that's actually what we do. We look at trends, we look at whether those trends are likely to grow, we join the dots, and then we try and make a mix that makes sense. Now, I don't do far futures either. I think people sort of assume I'm going to be talking about intelligent yogurt or chips in brains, and I don't really go much. I keep saying my time frame is 3 weeks to maybe 3 to 5 years. So not wildly futuristic. But my role actually also, as well as being a futurologist, I'm a psychologist. So my role is to look at how people are changing, how customers are changing, and the pressures that puts on organisations. And inevitably, technology changes behaviour. So a lot of the new technologies that are coming in, so like smartphones, for example, tablet computers, cloud computing, all of those things are changing behaviours. And my job is to step back and say, strategically, how do organisations need to start to think differently because customers are behaving differently? And that puts a lot of pressures on organisations because they're built to last, not to change. And customers are changing a lot faster than the organisations that serve them. So my role is to try and understand the implication of those behaviours on strategy. And I do that, I work in BT Global Services, so we serve the big corporates, so the top 500 corporates. So my role is to look at that and say, how does that influence our customers?
Right, that is interesting. So how are customers changing then, or how are BT customers changing?
Well, not just BT customers, everyone. I mean, we all have customers, and I think a BT customer is probably also a customer of a bank, a utilities company, etc. So we all have changing customers, not just BT. Certainly what we're finding is that we're getting this big trend towards what we are calling the autonomous customer. These are very, very connected customers. They're very well informed. They've often done their homework on purchases. We call them shopper SWOTs. So they've Googled, for example. So they're doing research. They've got lots of choice as well. So one of the issues with choice, of course, is that our brains and the microchip have not evolved alongside each other. Too much choice means that our brains go into meltdown because I can't process vast amounts of information. I'm not becoming more intelligent year on year. So we're getting this big trend towards advice seeking with customers, but they start with Google now rather than traditional sort of advice channels. And in actual fact, what we're finding is that they're either cutting organisations out of the dialogue entirely, or they only involve organisations by the time they have done their homework, which means in actual fact they start to ask quite complex, often quite emotive questions when they actually do come and ring the organisation or go and see them face to face. So they're a real challenging customer to deal with, autonomous customers, because they are very well informed, they are using self-service, but as a consequence of doing all that, they're hitting organisations with complexity.
Right, and you've got some quite interesting networking and collaboration techniques that you've used to take advantage of that and to build on it, haven't you?
I mean, we call it the networked expert. So the notion is if you've got autonomous customers coming in who are well informed, they often have complex inquiries. Well, who do you give a complex inquiry to? Well, the answer is an expert. Who are experts? Where are they? Well, some of them might sit in the contact centre, that's for sure, but some may be in the field. They may be in the retail space. They may be in a bank branch. They could be in what you might term a back office function. In fact, we've been looking at, is the back office now becoming the front office? Because the complexity is such that often you need to speed date the customer with the right expert to solve the problem. But that, of course, starts to break down a lot of these traditional boundaries and silos. So marketing, sales, service, front office, back office. All of those silos start to break down when you look at an era of networked expertise. So for networked experts, you need to know in an organisation, who are your experts? Then once you've found your experts, are they actually around? So you need to start to put presence information into this. Then you speed date the customer with the right expert, regardless of the media, doesn't matter. And then obviously you need some accountability, because technically anyone could be talking to anyone in this model. So you do need good workflow management and good CRM to know who's talked to whom, what actually happened. So all that's placing a challenge to this traditional front office, back office, siloed way that we tend to approach customer service in organisations.